Hello and welcome to Bandy, a podcast about being flexible and all of the ways that means. Thanks for joining us. My name is Andy Young, and I'm one of your ancient factual hosts. Joining me as always is our other ancient and factual host, Beth Martin. Beth, the pleasure as always. What's the crack?
I wore glasses just for this episode to look
Uh,
smart and
I-
ancient.
and yeah, I mean, yeah, you and me both. Like, if only I had my readers here, but unfortunately, I don't have them to hand.
I I'm now old enough that I have the kind that they're both.
Oh, varifocals? Is that what they're? I think. Yeah,
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 yeah.
or yeah. So yeah, and I'm annoyed because I wore eye makeup and then I was like, I can't see my paper today. Like my eyesight's just going. So anyways, no one can see that, but I'm just complaining. What's the crack? So we had Easter over the weekend.
Yep.
Do you guys celebrate that? Is that like a big
This was something I wanted to bring up to you, and I have it here, and I meant to like not eat it, but you know what I'm like.
Oh,
So I have
yes,
An Easter egg here.
it's huge.
It
Oh,
is
you've
huge.
eaten it.
I've eaten some of it, yeah.
I'm like,
Uh,
that's not a perfect egg.
no, it is
It's
certainly not a perfect egg.
missing half of the
It's
top.
a third, let's say.
Is it hollow or is it
Yes, it is
like
hollow. Yeah, yeah,
chocolate all
yeah.
the way through? Okay.
So it's like hollow inside. You can
Uh-huh.
see. Um, but like, so yeah, I mean, okay, I want to hear about your Easter stuff, but like, we absolutely do celebrate Easter. It is a thing, but we do Easter eggs, which are like these big chocolate hollow eggs, and it really surprises me they're not a thing in the US because I would have feel like candy companies would want to leverage any opportunity to sell different kinds of sweets.
What they've figured out how to do is to make the same sweet and you put a different wrapping color
Mm.
on it and then you just sell the same thing.
So there are like Easter editions of stuff then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So like M&Ms, like Hershey Kisses, they'll put like silver, pink, color, blue,
Okay.
pink and blue basically is the Easter
Uh,
colors.
'Cause so like
And
basic.
like you do get novelty candy like robin's eggs.
Yeah.
But like on the whole, I was kind of like, and they didn't even have robin's eggs this year. It was all just like generic same old candy that you would get on
Oh,
Halloween.
interesting.
Yeah.
Because like, yeah, and I suppose that does make a ton of sense because it's like I suppose it is a lot of extra effort crafting these chocolate eggs and
Yes.
stuff like that.
Yes. And like
Uh,
we get Cadbury eggs, but
yep.
that's like we don't have those year round.
Oh, the cream eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
So
mad.
good.
Yeah, they're like
So
crack.
good. My
Uh,
children literally like shoved because I like it's all like how you eat a Reese's peanut butter cup and how you eat a Cadbury egg tells a lot about you as a human being,
it's true. It's
right? Like I
true.
eat the top of I eat all the chocolate off the peanut butter cup and then I eat the peanut butter.
Okay.
And like
Mhm.
the cream egg, I'll like eat a little bit off the top and then I like suck out the cream
Yeah, yeah,
part.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
so
yeah.
gross. And then I eat the bottom part of then I eat the rest of the chocolate because the chocolate's so fucking good. It's
Yeah,
like
it is.
Hershey's, which
It
is like
is.
half wax, half chocolate. Anyways.
Yes, it's true. Um,
Sorry,
okay,
Hershey's, Pennsylvania.
let's talk about Easter. I've got another sweet related thing I tried a few days ago that I want to ask you about, but let's
Mhm.
talk about your Easter holidays first.
I mean, it's like it's very different than Easter used to be because
Yeah.
we had like family. So typically in the US, like you spend the morning with like your immediate family, you hide Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Like people like dye Easter eggs,
Yeah.
which is funny because right now we're having an egg shortage. So like getting 12 pack of white eggs was like no one they were talking about like like dyeing potatoes, like we lived in the Soviet Union or something. So
You could cut them into like
so
an egg shape.
yeah, you could,
Yeah.
right? Just like I think if you peel them anyways. I don't know if that was actually a joke or a recommendation that people were giving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a bit of
And then
both.
we make a cake that's like shaped like an Easter bunny and then we decorate it with a
Okay.
candy. It's like just candy holiday basically. And
I
then you
love,
hide the eggs and they have like an
yes,
Easter egg hunt
that's
too. Okay.
something we used to do when I was younger as well. I don't know if it's done so much these days. Probably it is, but like it definitely was a
Mhm.
thing here as well. The One of the facts I heard about Easter over the weekend was that apparently one of our major pet stores about the month in like the month before Easter stopped selling bunnies because people buy bunnies for
Yes.
Easter, and I'm like,
Yes.
what? Why?
Yeah. Yeah. Because like oh, and then yeah, so after Easter, then
They,
all of the shelters of all these people that are like, oh, bunnies are work,
yes,
and they
I don't
need
want to buy
constant, yeah, right. It ate all the cords.
bunnies are like I people.
Hmm.
Really need to start thinking things through, but it's not happened so far in this reality, so why would it start
No,
now,
people,
you know?
it's true. And like around Halloween, like they start, like the animal rights groups start giving warnings, like keep your black cat inside. Because
Yep.
a lot of people will like kill black cats here on Halloween, which is like,
Demanded.
yeah, totally. Because they're
Truly
supposed to be bad
demanded.
bad luck. I know. Anyways, holidays are weird.
All
I
these
was
are
trying to
weird.
explain Easter to the kids, and it's like I was like, it's Jesus died on the cross and then came back to life
Hmm.
around this time. Some people believe. And they're like, why are there eggs? I'm like, well, this goes beyond that. And they were like, pagan times and fertility. And so eggs are a symbol of fertility, and rabbits have a lot of babies. And that's
Hmm.
why the bunny. And they're like, okay. And like, it doesn't make any sense.
No, it's just a load of shit thrown together, and it's like, okay, well, we can make a chocolate version of this. Boom,
Yes.
done. You
Yes.
know?
Who's that comedian? He's like, oh shoot, Jim Gaffigan. He
Yes,
did a really, really good bit on Easter.
interesting.
That's all like why it's for Jesus and like why the eggs? I don't know, just hide them. It's really good. I'm doing a really that was the poorest impression I've ever done. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry.
Fine.
Uh,
Well, I was going to ask, do the kids get days off school for Easter?
yes.
Okay. How many?
This year it was 4.
Wow.
It was weird. Yeah. So
Do
they
you
got off Good Friday and then Easter Monday.
do you know, I want to know how many days kids in the UK get off for Easter?
How many?
10.
Oh, yeah.
Insane. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's, work life, school life balance is
right? Is
not our
non-existent in the US.
no, yeah.
Madness.
Don't have a baby here.
No. Um, and okay, yeah, so like, it doesn't sound too dissimilar as I say Easter eggs are a big thing over here, as in like the chocolate Easter eggs are a big thing.
Mhm.
But beyond that, fairly similar. I know that people like tend to like get together,
Yeah.
sometimes family meals and stuff like that, but not
Easter dinner
always.
is a big deal.
Yes.
And then like they had signs up for like a 6:30 sermon in the park around the neighborhood.
Okay.
So a lot of people get up and like,
6:30 a.m.
AM.
Come on.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I know.
whatever. I mean,
I
like, I'll
think
just
that do you ever watch Ozark?
no, but I know of it.
Okay, so there's this scene in Ozark where he's like driving around in the Ozark lakes and he comes across this like morning prayer group that they all take their boats out and like there's a pastor on a boat and then they all like drive their boats away. I'm like, I would go to that. That's
Yeah.
cool. I could
But
take my boat
yeah,
out in the morning and sit there and listen to someone talk about, heaven and God.
that does sound nice. Um,
Turns out they were doing drug deals, but whatever.
I mean, like, why not both, right? Why not
Exactly.
do all the stuff that you
So they
need
were
to do?
handing out Bibles that had like heroin in them or something. So
Perfect. I love it. Yeah, I love it. So like and my cracks since we last spoke is that my Easter weekend was spent playing board game.
yeah.
So nice.
How many
I
people?
there was 7 of us, and an eighth person came for a day,
Okay.
which was lovely. But it was good. Like it's something I've talked about during the podcast before. Is I really kind of struggle to like have free time. Like even if I have time that is downtime, I feel excessively guilty if I'm at home where I'm like constantly plagued by thoughts of things that I need to do and whatever.
So you
But
just
having
need to
like a
remove yourself.
removing myself from the house and going to somewhere completely different and going, the time I have here is leisure time. It's to play board games, to play some video games. We only have like old school video games. So we had like Super Nintendo and we
So
had
fun.
it was so great. And then 64 and things like that, so we had a little bit of that, but mostly board games. And it was just so lovely. So on the Saturday, sat down to play a game, and it was about uh, how the game worked was kind of an ongoing thing. So like you play act one of the game, and that's you can play that in one session. You cannot choose to play any more. So that took us about 2 hours, and we were like, shall we just play the next two acts? And just having 6 hours in a row that I can just play, it feels so luxurious and decadent, and it
Right.
was so nice. So it was lovely. I mean, I said to Beth, I certainly don't go heavy, and I don't think anybody really does in that group. But even just 3 days of drinking beer and like eating rich food, I was just ruined by the Sunday. Running in fumes, but it was so lovely and such a blast. And yeah, just as I say, nice. As I say, for someone who struggles to kind of figure out how to have guilt-free downtime, was nice just to have that wee window of 3 days.
Good for
I-
you.
I'm back in the treadmill now,
Right.
but that's fine.
Hamster wheel.
Yeah, into the rat race. But it's fine. Like nominally restored, so that's something.
Mhm. I have to just share, I watched this show, speaking of downtime, I crushed it. I was just like, it's so good, I have to keep watching it. It's called Dying for Sex with
Okay.
Michelle Williams. And it's
Uh-huh.
based on this podcast where this woman had, it's kind of like a bummer, so I can't put it in joy. But I wanted to talk about it because it is so fucking good.
Mhm,
You're
mhm.
gonna cry if you watch it. I'm because this woman has stage 4 cancer. She's terminal,
Okay.
and she like finds out she's terminal like in couples therapy with her husband, and is like, I'm leaving you, and I'm gonna go like, you're not taking care of me. My best friend is gonna take care of me, and then like I've got 3 to 5 years to live. And so she goes and like starts like exploring her sexuality and like having all these like sexcapades or whatever.
Hmm.
And like her best friend is like taking her to doctor's appointments, and um this is all a true story. And just their friendship is so interesting. And then I actually listened to the podcast too.
Hmm.
Um and it's just like the sweetest friendship. Um the podcast I'm just listen to the podcast, watch the show. It is so I haven't seen acting like this in so long. And
Okay.
like the best friend is played by Jenny Slate, who like I am a total fangirl for
Yeah,
her.
she rocks.
It's so fucking good. It's so fucking good. And like, it ends the way that terminal cancer ends, right?
Yeah.
But the story is so, so funny and sweet and just like uh I don't know. It's I highly recommend it.
I love it.
Uh-huh.
So like was the podcast by
It's Wondery, and Nikki Boyer is her best friend. She's won Emmys, and she
so
works in
like I
Hollywood.
mean, was the podcast the lady that was dying of cancer, was she part of the podcast, or was this
Yeah,
after the events? Okay,
they were
interesting.
recording her, yeah, as
How
she's
fascinating.
like, yeah. So, they only made 6 episodes. Um, but and like the last episode is her like in the hospital on hospice. But it's just so interesting, like uh her journey through finding her sexual self, and then also coming to terms with like the end of her life and like what that
Yeah,
looks like, and all the realizations that she makes about life itself.
fascinating. Yeah,
I can't
that's
come up with anything that poignant ever, so like,
no, I like it. I like the sound of it.
yeah, yeah,
Will I will try and check that out actually.
yeah,
Um yeah, I love it. I yeah, because I feel so like I say, I've been really loving. I think I've talked about it as one of my joys. The Righteous Gemstones final season has been
yes.
fantastic, but I'm really kind of like I'm just dropping behind on lots of other TV shows at the minute. I need to start getting back into them. I've been rewatching some Star Trek: The Next Generation,
Yes.
which is another nice piece of TV comfort food. So
I
that's been
just
nice.
hate. the only part I don't like about the Star Treks is they're like, all right, now we're going to like old London. And I'm
Yes,
like,
true.
no. And then like seeing them out of their uniforms, it's like seeing your teacher at the like grocery store.
It's true.
We're just like, this is not right. You don't live outside this classroom.
Yes, exactly. Get back into the classroom. No, that has reminded me. I did watch the new season of Black Mirror has dropped, and
Hmm.
one of the episodes is a follow-up to the USS Callister episode. I don't know if you remember it.
I just started watching that show.
Okay, okay.
I got through the second episode and I was like, okay, so it's like the Twilight Zone, but with
Yes.
technology. So,
I think the first few seasons, yeah, you've got a lot of good stuff in the first few seasons. I am excited for you to see the Callister episode. You're gonna
okay,
love
I'll
it.
watch
It's
it.
like Star
Okay.
Trek themed. It's great.
Okay.
Um, okay, anyway, right. I think that's
Sorry.
no, it's quite all right. It was lovely to be tangent. Um, do you have any more crack, or shall we move on to
We can
what's
move
occurring?
on. Yeah.
Do you have any what's occurring?
I don't this
Me
week.
neither.
Woohoo!
So, shall we get into our topic for the week?
Yes.
Okay. Our topic for this week is local history, and we're just going to talk a little bit about, you know, our kind of local area. I guess the area we are living in now for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, and kind of like because I feel like we have touched on some of this stuff in other episodes, and we thought it would be nice to kind of like expand out in that a little bit, and learn a little bit more about, or sorry, you can all learn a little bit more about where we kind of live or come from. For
Yeah.
me, I
Yeah.
mean, like obviously for me, I know it all intimately. It's like it's
Right.
just it's coming straight from my brain. I didn't
Right.
have to look stuff
There
up
was
or
no
anything like that.
Wikipedia
Uh-uh.
happening at
Oh no,
all.
no, 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 no.
I was like, I'll just get on here and donate some money, but I won't actually look
Yeah,
into anything. I did
exactly.
give him $5 and everyone
Okay, good for
should because
you.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
probably
yeah,
five
yeah.
more bucks than I've given. Like I think Wikipedia
Yeah,
is doing God's work, but like I also
they
am
are.
like I don't have,
I just
five
signed up to
five
be an
pounds.
editor because
Ooh,
I
good
give
for
them like
you.
money when they ask. I know. So I'm
I
like, what facts? I mean, maybe I'll put in there that Tom Morello was in Iron Man.
Yeah, why not?
Ah!
Um, I love it. Like, and also probably like we need to donate to it, considering Elon Musk and other guilds have been talking about buying it. So yeah,
Is that true?
yep.
Donate
So
money to Wikipedia, everyone.
please do. So
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry, that was a weird sound.
No, it's kind of right. I think everybody who's listening will understand.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah. So do you want to talk a little? You want to kick off first? Maybe like do we overview?
Yes, yes. So I live in a town at like 45, Andy can attest to this, like 45 minutes from the border between the United States and Mexico. Um, I learned a lot, actually. What I didn't know is um our history is a little sad because there was so much war, like in all the areas around here. I'm part of San Diego County, uh, but we had the Mexican American War, which kind of uh, mm, messed some things up, I'll say. Anyways,
Yeah.
so Ramona is the name of the town. It was originally called Nuevo, which means new. Um, but then we came in and did our thing and took it over, and we were like, no, no, now we're going to name the town Ramona. And so in 1886, it was named after a book. Um, it's interesting. The next year, then they changed it back to Nuevo because there was another town in Los Angeles County called Ramona, and you can have two,
Oh, interesting.
right, two similar names in I guess joining counties. But
Okay.
the town died, which happens here. I don't know if that happens in Ireland.
I
Like,
think that's a good question. I think that it's small enough, like, in the grand scheme of things, the England and the UK is small enough that it can't really die off in the same way that it can in the US, because the US is
yeah,
so big, it's just like, oh, we can just
yeah,
abandon this massive chunk of land.
yeah. Or
Because,
it just gets absorbed by another town.
yes, yes, I think that's more
Um,
common here.
right. So the town didn't flourish, and then Nuevo ta the town of Nuevo permanently became Ramona in
Hmm.
1894. So that's that's what we've got.
I love it.
Yeah. I was actually born in a town that did failed to flourish.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I
And
think there's,
it's my town that I was born doesn't exist. It's kind of weird.
it's like, I think there's a real danger in, I mean, like, it's going to continue happening, but like, oftentimes towns just form around an industry that's there, and it's like
Yes.
a natural resource that is finite, and it's like
Yes.
with no thought to, well, what's going to happen whenever that goes
Shuts
away?
down.
Because it
Yeah.
will
We have a
inevitably,
lot of that. We have a
you
lot of
know?
that.
I mean,
Like mining, canneries, if once those industries like you know, look at Flint, Michigan and like
yeah.
Detroit basically, and how the auto industry shut down in that town or those towns are really suffering.
It's I know that like I mean, and I'm sure it happens here as well. There what'll happen is you'll find towns will maybe not die off completely in the UK, but they will like diminish severely. So like, at one of the places I spent a fair chunk of time in Scotland is with a friend of mine. He's in like a place called Innerleithen, and that area and like not just that town, but all the kind of towns in that area were part of the Tweed Valley, and the Tweed Valley was a really big kind of textiles kind of like garment making. I don't know
Mhm.
whether it did garments as well, but I know it created the textiles for garments. So whenever like that sort of diminishing and becoming less of a thing, those towns shrank, I think, in terms of the amount of people that were there, but have had new leases of life with things like, for example, like, in this town in particular, because it has a lot of like lovely kind of forests and mountains beside it, has become a real kind of like mecca for mountain bikers, and it's sort of like built around that. It's like, so they're going to build an innovation center for that sort of thing. They're going to like a lots of like bike repair shops and things like that. So I think that is a more common path rather than like towns completely dying over here.
Gotcha. Which is, I mean, bike riding is not going to go away ever, right?
True.
So that's a
True.
good use of trail space and
It is. And it's something that, mostly, I think for the most part respects the landscape and things like that as well.
mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, I love it.
What about Carrickfergus?
So Carrickfergus, I had to think a little bit about what to say. Um, so there was a knight called John de Courcy who made it his base of operations, kind of like I think it was a much smaller town in 1177.
Oh
And he
my
began
God.
building out here, right?
I'm like 1886.
I know.
Say that again.
1177.
1177.
So like
That's so freaking cool.
I know. So what's interesting about it is that for a long time it was the kind of major town in Ulster. So like it was the major kind of area of trade and things like that. Like even when Beth was over visiting us, she saw there's this like kind of strip of ocean in front of Carrickfergus. It's called Belfast Lough, and it was called Carrickfergus Bay, yeah, Carrickfergus Bay, until like the 17th century because like Carrick was the hub. Essentially, I think what happened was, yeah, the Carrickfergus sold customs rights, so it's kind of sales rights, trading rights to Belfast in like the 1600s. And then it started declining, and Belfast started getting more important and started building up until it became like the capital of all of kind of, Ulster and Northern Ireland, at least anyway.
Mhm.
Um, but there is not all of it's still there, but I think it's the oldest wall town in Ulster. There's still a lot of the old wall that's there. And there's obviously the castle. And it has a lot of history. I'm going to talk a little bit more about one of the specific things that's pertinent to, Ireland in general later on, but it's certainly was an important town for a long time, diminished, but we still have the castle and it's still kind of a popular place for like tourism and things like that these days.
Mhm. The castle's really beautiful.
Yes. Though I've had friends who come to see the castle and they're expecting like a Disney castle,
Oh,
and then they're
right.
like, what is this stone monstrosity? I'm like, I hear you, but how dare you also?
Right? Like clearly you don't watch enough Game of Thrones.
Yes. And it's like,
This is a real shit.
you're just better because you don't have a castle in your town, you know.
Right?
That's my
Right.
attitude. Was my attitude about it. But yeah, I mean, like it's it's interesting because I think what's fun about a town this sort of ancient is there's lots of like cool shit. Like there's a from the castle to there is like an old kind of bar that is in the fairly central that has been there for hundreds of years as well. There's a tunnel built from the castle to the bar, things like that, like just for supplies and for all sorts of shit. And and as I say, there are still bars. There was at least a bar named after one that was to the inside of the North Gate to the town called the North Gate. So there's these wee sort of tendrils of history all over
Hmm.
the place.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like we we tend to change. Yeah, I mean everything here in the US had you know, a Native American name, uh, or
Mm,
a Spanish name, and typically we'll go through it. Like we changed the name of the town from Nueva to Ramona. So there's a lot of like, okay, we're here now, and this is a word that we use. Like we've like Mount Hood in
yes,
Oregon, the actual name of the mountain is Y East.
interesting.
So there's a lot of that here.
I love, and I mean, I think that is great. I mean, I remember when I was in Arizona,
Hmm.
because like as I say, it is, obviously America as it is now is relatively new in the grand scheme of things, but
It's true.
there are layers and layers of history going back
Yeah.
hundreds, if not thousands of years
Yes.
of Indian culture and things like that.
Hmm.
Whenever I was in Arizona, did a tour and they took us to like these old kind of ruins and like huts built into the side of like not cliff faces as such, but like kind
Hmm.
of like that sort of idea. And so I think there is there's still like a lot of rich history there, I think,
Yeah, agreed. Like the pueblos that they have.
Yes.
Yeah, very cool. So, I was just looking at like cool things that have happened in Ramona, and like Ramona is like it's the desert, but there's like so much sun that there's a lot of agriculture here.
Hmm.
Okay, so in the 1960s, the boxer Archie Moore held a training camp called the Salt Mine, which trained George Foreman and Muhammad Ali. Um, and this guy won 185 out of 219 bouts before he retired at 49 after losing to Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
Um, but he created this retreat called the Salt Mine Training Camp in Ramona. He called it the Salt Mine because he said he worked as hard there to get ready for fights as he did like working in the salt mine. But the property is at the foot of Mount Woodson, the mountain
Interesting.
that you and I hiked to the
Yes.
top. Um, so it had like homes, a boxing ring, like a sweat box, like a steam room, and then like all these trails that they would use for, running and training. So I thought that was cool.
That's very cool, actually.
I
Yeah.
know.
Um, yeah, um I think that yes, I'll talk a little bit about the kind of so King Billy is an important character in kind of and it's
Like I
such a
can't hear Billy
such
without Baby Billy.
Baby Billy, it's true, it's right.
Uncle Baby Billy. Sorry for the
Uncle Baby,
righteous gemstones.
it is. So like I uh so it's kind of hard. This is why I'm kind of hesitant to talk about this. I think like the very notion of somebody called King Billy is really hilarious to me. And I think it's so, because it's become just to kind of like, take it out a wee bit and kind of look from a macro level, like it has this thing has become what, the Catholic Protestant thing in this country is so circles around what this is. And because in Carrickfergus, where King Billy or King William, that was where he landed whenever he was kind of coming into Ireland and he represented the Protestant forces. So it's become like this Protestant sort of like town, very kind of important to the culture, I guess, and the kind of identity of the town is a sort of Protestant identity. And essentially, what had happened was there was a war for succession in the UK, basically in England, I should say, and the deposed king at the time, James, came to Ireland thinking that he could get the Catholic sort of population to kind of help, which worked for a while. But then King Billy landed in Carrickfergus on.
I've seen the King Billy
You
murals.
have seen the King Billy murals.
Okay, I remember.
Did you see? Do you remember seeing the statue, the hilarious statue that's
Yes,
like that
yes.
is like supposed to be like actual size, and he's like four
Tiny.
foot 4'1" or something.
Yes.
It's
Was
really
that by
funny.
the castle?
Yeah,
I do.
Um, but then basically he landed here and he used that kind of landing point here to like launch a successful campaign to kind of like beat King James. And it's like, you know, it's like. In my opinion, it's like you sometimes speak to football fans and they're like, they'll talk about that one victory that happened like, 60
Yes.
years ago. And
Yes.
that's all they talk about all the fucking time. I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this. But it's like it's the same sort of thing to me in a lot of ways, and like and like then it becomes distilled down to, well, we're still at war with these people, this war that ended over 300 years ago. And like, so this like animosity, imagined or not, is still like you're very much affecting this whole country, in really
Yeah,
kind of bizarre ways. I don't know, did you see um Trainspotting 2?
I did.
Okay, so do you remember at one point they go into a club and they like steal all these people's wallets?
Yes.
And they type the pin code they're typing is 1690. That's why it's 1690, because that's when King Billy landed at the
Okay.
because basically because of the Ulster Scots thing and because there's like a Protestant connection with here, you'll see a lot of people who are like passionately, for Protestant culture and King Billy and things like that in both Scotland and over here. And I guess
Wow.
so devoted are they that they set their pin code to 1690. I thought that was such a lovely idea, especially knowing the kind of context when I saw that in the movie.
Uh-huh.
It was very funny. But
That's
yeah,
interesting.
isn't it? Yes. So like, and there's more, there's a Battle of the Boyne, which is a really kind of famous battle that they kind of go on about, which is a bit further, quite a bit further south. But yeah, so I say certainly for this town, it's the most remarkable thing I think that's happened, and as a result, is something that kind of still resonates today, for better or for worse.
Mhm. So very cool. So okay, so speaking of history,
Yeah.
you know this because I took you to the museum, but at one time Ramona was known as the turkey capital of the world.
Oh yeah.
The world.
I meant to ask you, how
So
was the turkey photo after the earthquake? That was okay.
it was fine. Yeah.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah,
Whew.
I know.
Can
It's
breathe
like
easy now.
I have this ridiculous like photo from like the 1930s of this turkey that's like
Hmm.
won some beauty award and it's wearing a little crown and it has like a big giant bow tie and this like beautiful lady, like a pinup girl, is like taking the photo of the turkey.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah, it is good. I took her wedding family photo down and I put up the turkey photo because I it's so funny.
Amazing.
Anyways, so turkey production flourished during the 1930s. There were Turkey Day celebrations, and then this was like all during World War II. The war ended, and then so did I guess the demand for turkeys.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
um it ended completely by like 1959, but we still have wild turkeys. Like, and I don't know if it's because of the turkey mills or farms, but we still have turkeys. Like, I almost hit one with my car the other day. They're everywhere.
Oh, really?
Mhm. Yeah, the hardware store. I can't remember if I told you this or not. You know, I love feeding animals.
Sure.
The hardware store down in our little like convenience store area. I was there buying something in the morning like first thing, like we needed, I don't know, some part for something. So I ran over there and like this guy came out and he fed all the turkeys and there were like 45 of them. And I was like, oh, do you do this every day? He's like, yes. I'm like, oh, I start coming here every day. Start
Yeah,
my day
it's
with like
Yeah, okay,
That's
yeah,
my turkey sound.
it's
Anyways,
good.
yeah,
I love it. That's yeah. I mean, I do. I've got to say, like, I really do love the selection of what or the range of wildlife in the US. I mean, like, I think I've told you before, the most dangerous creature you're going to come across in this country is a badger, and you're not going to come across a badger, basically. Like, for better for worse, obviously, there are certain things you don't want to encounter, but I think I love the complexity so much more. I
yeah,
I'm sad that we don't have that.
yeah. I was like standing in my backyard the other day and I look over and there's like a coyote eating a rabbit and
No.
like turns and like looks at me. It was like right on the other side of the fence and I was like, "Ooh." And it's like trying to like swallow it whole because I was there and it was like I got to eat this or like get out of here. And so it started to like move away, but I was like it was big. I was like, "Okay, start getting inside."
So cool.
Yeah, there is a lot of wildlife.
Um, like in terms of, older kind of stuff, I had like, there are some that I think it's one of these things that like, you know, prior to a certain time, especially like in England and the UK in general, like written records and actually knowing what the hell was going on
Yeah.
is very difficult to find.
Yes.
I think there like it seems like there was some like they recommend monastic and like religious sites around 500
Wow.
CE. Yeah, that's nuts. Um, and like I think like abbots and sort of bishops kind of residing there in kind of slightly more modern eras. Um, but it's like so spotty post or pre, I think. I
I
think 1177 was when I talked about whenever it was officially kind of founded, and like prior to that, it's like
hard to
really it's
know.
guesswork,
Yeah.
and there's been some stuff found, but nothing specific.
I was reading, this is off topic, but I was reading that some guy found a medieval shoe in the Thames,
Okay.
and like just like, the water level dropped as it does, and he was like, "Oh, it's a shoe." And then he was like, "Oh, it's a really old shoe." And he took it to the museum and they were like, "This is like literally a medieval shoe." Like, so he sold it to them.
Love it. Like,
Anyways, the
that's
things you can find in
right.
rivers.
I know.
Hmm.
And then bid on them on eBay.
Right? And I'm like, was the human attached to the
Whenever you
shoe? Or
started
did they
saying that,
get
I was kind of
mad
like,
at the shoe and throw it in the river? I don't know.
whenever you said that, I was like, it was he going to find a foot in the shoe? That's what was my next thought. But
Right,
no, I
right.
mean, like, I'm kind of glad that that's not the case because,
Maybe it was just someone having a medieval temper tantrum.
right? No, I had something else. Say goodbye to your shoe.
Right?
I love it.
So, okay, now Ramona is known for thoroughbred horse breeding,
Okay.
and there are horses everywhere here. Everybody's got a horse in their backyard.
Yeah.
Um, so there was a Kentucky Derby horse that placed first or second.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and that's a big deal. So people it's like it's always sunny here, so you can always ride. The ground's always dry, so for the most part. And so it makes it easier for people to ride their horses around.
Yeah, yeah, because whenever I was staying with you, there's all these kind of like horse lanes in the
Yep.
backgrounds and things like that, which is really cool.
Yeah, there are trails everywhere.
I think that's quite exciting. That's lovely. Like, we don't. I mean, I'm sure there are places like that there, that we have them, but by and large, it doesn't really happen quite so much. I don't think.
No, like people like ride their horses like down the road,
Yeah.
like taking their horse for a walk, and then they shit in the road, and you're like, okay, there's more horse shit in the road. It's like this suburb. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So like, I there was so like basically one of the things I feel like modern era because as you were saying that because I had thought about this like I feel like we're in a bit of a kind of an identity crisis at the minute. I feel like more than anything, we have become a larger part of Belfast. And I'm like, certainly for an American town, we're like a 20-minute drive from Belfast, which we would be a satellite town, I guess. A lot of people are moving here just because house prices are cheaper and it's not a brutal commute in terms of like if you're working in Belfast.
Mhm.
Because like I think, talking about those places in Scotland and things like that. We had a big period of time where there was a lot of textiles mills and things like that. That sort of things uh, came up here. But like so many other places, those things have died off or those things have moved to different countries. And there hasn't really been much of an industry like that for, geez, over 100 years, I think. Yeah, very much so. Um, but like it was interesting. What I was noticing was that there's a place called Taylor's Avenue, and it's called Taylor's Avenue because there used to be lots of tailors there, and I'm like, of course it was. Um, so I found that quite exciting. But as I say, very much, I think in terms of what its own identity is, it is something that it is a town that's struggling with that a little bit, in um recent years. I do have um a pretty cool one.
Okay.
A couple of cool things that are connected to the US. So first one is, I don't think I've told you this one before. Maybe you don't know this. Um, Andrew Jackson,
Hmm?
former US president, was born in Carrickfergus.
Really?
Yeah. His cottage that he was born in is still there as a museum.
How does that work?
He
It's like
basically moved, I think he was born here and he moved as a child. I mean, like this was like Andrew Jackson was what maybe your third ever president. So I think in terms of like the
the
necessity
rules,
yes,
yeah,
weren't quite in
around.
place.
Uh-huh.
I think for a long time he was considered one of the absolute worst presidents of all
Yes.
time.
Yes, he was. I
Obviously
feel
there
like
are
he's on
some
like the $5 bill. He's on one of the bills. But yeah,
okay.
he wasn't extremely popular. Um,
Obviously some other people are coming for that crown in recent
yeah.
years, right?
Yes, definitely.
Um, but
Fascinating. Because like that's why Arnold Schwarzenegger couldn't run for president because
yes.
he wasn't born here. So, well,
Um,
what happens when you put rules in place?
this is it, right? Who likes rules? Boring. Um,
Boo.
so the other connection to the US is that let me get this right exactly. Um, so in preparation for the Second World War, um, so the U.S. Army Rangers were formed during Second World War. They needed to train somewhere closer to where the actual war was happening, and there was a camp and a training sort of like area built in Carrickfergus for them.
Wow.
There is still a museum, a US Rangers museum set up in Carrickfergus, a lot of history of how that went down and the area that they used. It's really kind of fascinating because it's an area that is like a built up sort of like residential area, like suburby sort of area. And that whole area was a camp for like, the entirety of World War II.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. World War II had impacted a lot of different countries. And yeah, I'm just thinking about
You want
whether or not
do,
we're gonna take over Greenland.
that's true.
Or just let be reabsorbed by the monarchy. I don't know. We'll see.
Do you have any does Ramona have any towns that you're twinned with? Do you know what they are?
Like sister cities or
Yes,
whatever.
exactly, exactly.
I
I'm not gonna
doubt
put you in
it.
spot. Really? We have five, and four of them are in America.
Okay.
So
Where?
Portsmouth, New Hampshire, Jackson, Michigan, Ruda, Slaska in Poland, Anderson in South Carolina,
Huh.
and Danville in Kentucky.
Huh. Damn,
So there
girl.
you go. I think all these
Right
things
on.
are not big, but it's certainly to be twinned with Carrickfergus. But I always thought whenever you twinned with a city, you were like that was the city you were twinned with. But like it seems like we're like we have a handful of like lovers technically,
Yes. Yeah, I
right?
was in hiking up in LA, and like they had a big, I don't know, like a seating area where you could like under the trees, but there was a big sign. It was like uh sister city with Berlin, but I know that
Yeah.
LA has other sister cities, and it was just like, okay, well, let's give them a picnic table over in this park to honor
Yes.
that. Ramona, I just looked in my brain, and no, we don't have
You don't
any
have any?
sister.
Wow. Okay.
Uh-uh, uh-uh.
We
We're like
need
at
to.
20, do we have like 20,000 people?
That's good. You get
Which
to be twinned with a city.
I would think so. And like it's not like it's like on it's not like there's at least 20-minute drive to get to any town.
Yeah.
But it's like anyways, we're part of San Diego County, so and technically it's not a town or a city. It's like
Oh,
a we're
interesting.
like
A pro.
cooper yeah, there's a term for it that I can't
Okay,
remember.
that's
Okay,
interesting.
so
Okay.
I have some weird San Diego facts.
Okay, hit me.
But these are laws that just like have no one's updated since
Mhm.
they put laws in place. In San Diego, it's illegal to shoot jackrabbits from the back of a streetcar.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So get off the streetcar first is what I'm hearing.
First, and then shoot the jackrabbit.
Got it.
Yes.
Got it. Got it.
Not, not that we have like jackrabbits running around
Or
downtown
streetcars, really, for
or
the most
streetcars.
part.
I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
trying to think, and I'm like, I don't know if we have those anymore.
yeah.
Um, you can get fined. They can charge you money if you leave up your Christmas lights after February 2nd.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
I know. Let's see. The University of California in La Jolla, they have like branches all over the place. It's home to the largest collection of original Dr. Seuss manuscripts.
Okay.
Um, you're not allowed to hypnotize anyone in public school.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Hmm. I know,
Hmm.
right? Stop that.
Say, I mean, like, it's my whole thing. Base my life around it.
That's how I made friends. I hypnotized them.
Yeah.
Tony Hawk Day. Our buddy Tony
Okay.
Hawk is from San Diego. So May 29th, feel free to celebrate.
That should be a public holiday.
Uh, Sean White is also from San Diego. He's like
Okay.
a
Surfer?
famous, yeah, snowboarder. Good
Snowboarder.
job,
Sorry.
Andy.
Ha! Close. I was close.
You're like sports
Yeah.
that you ride
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's on a long flat thing. I know that much.
Yeah. So there's on Coronado Island, there's a famous hotel. It's called Hotel del Coronado. It's not only the oldest wooden structure in the United States, it was the first to feature an electric lit outdoor Christmas tree.
Ooh, I think I
1904.
know I've heard of that place before, but yes.
It's in a lot. It's famous for like some Marilyn Monroe movie.
Okay, okay,
Something kind of
okay,
hot.
okay.
It's got the most ideal climate, averaging 70 degrees all year round,
Mm-hmm. Ooh,
which I would agree with. Um, it's illegal to swim in any of the lakes in the city,
okay.
but we also have like 70 miles of shoreline on the coast, so that doesn't really matter. But yeah, you cannot swim in the lake. Uh,
Interesting.
from the early 1930s to the late 1970s, San Diego was actually the tuna capital of the world.
Whoa.
I know.
What an accolade.
I know. So, uh,
It's
and actually, this is when okay, these last two I like. Um, do you guys have WD-40?
yes.
Okay, that was invented here
Ooh,
by the
fancy.
Rocket Chemical Company in 1953. So thank
Uh-huh.
you to Rocket Chemical Company, who I'm sure WD-40 got bought out by somebody else. But and then the first drive-in restaurant in the United States was opened here by
That's
the same
cool.
guy that founded Jack in the Box.
Oh, interesting.
And then yeah, that's those are the highlights.
I love it. That's great. All my research was Carrickfergus based because I refuse to acknowledge any
I
other
get
town in
it.
this
I
country.
get it. I get it.
I'm a Carrickfergus boy forever. I've been
I know.
recently describing myself to my girlfriend as the bad boy of Carrickfergus. She laughs every single time.
Put it on a t-shirt.
So yeah. I love it. Do you have anything else you want to chat about, or shall we move on to our final wee section?
I think we can move on. Do you have anything else?
No, I'm good. Like I say, you know, it's interesting because um I think I have such a knee-jerk reaction to what politics are in this country, or certainly what the history is, because it has become so intertwined with things that I just don't like or just don't speak to me in any major way. So it was kind of fun to look through stuff. I like this stuff has filtered in and out of my brain as time has went on, but it was nice to kind of review it. It was nice to think about the wee bits and pieces. As time has went on, I've really grown to love this town a lot more than I ever thought I would. I very much was like, I feel very different to what this town is, to what the people here are like for the most part. And I'm never
Mhm.
coming, I'm leaving and I'm never coming back. But it's been nice, and I think that being in a place that has a forest behind you and an ocean in front of you, especially as you get older, is really kind of like there's something to treasure there. So yeah.
I mean, having visited, now I can be biased,
Yeah.
right? It's a really sweet place.
Yes.
It's just, I can see why, I think part of that, gotta go. Like, it's just growing up and,
Straight.
you know,
Right.
we
True,
all
true,
go through
true.
that. It's like moving out of your parents' house and you're like, yeah, down with man.
Yeah,
But,
now I gotta be an adult. And then you're like, oh, and
right.
then you find out what being an
Yeah.
adult entails, and you're like,
You're
oh
like,
no.
right? You're like, oh, I really like my proximity to the grocery store.
Yeah. But yeah, love it.
Good, good.
Okay.
And it's just interesting, like how little history exists here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not, and I don't want to discount the Kumeyaay tribe that lives here and
No.
the
No,
history of
but
that
I know what you mean.
culture.
Yeah.
But since, we took over in,
And
the 1800s, there's not a lot going on.
yeah. And everything was great. Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
Right?
Did a great
Exactly.
job. No notes. Everything's been
No
perfect so
notes.
far. No notes whatsoever. I love it. All right. And let's move on to our final wee section of the pod. Beth, what has been bringing you joy this week?
Mm, okay, I was gonna say candlelight Pilates, but what I'm really gonna say is I've started watching the show. It's called Below Deck. Don't watch it, Andy. It's not for you. You'll be like, this is what she's watching. This is how she's spending her time.
Look at that.
So it's a reality show, and
Oh
it's
gosh.
people that work on mega yachts.
Oh God.
I
Uh-huh.
know. And like all the trials and tribulations and like dealing with like, guests that are spending 200,000 to $250,000 for like 3 days on a mega yacht
Hmm.
and how hard these people work. And like I guess it's standard practice to tip around 10%.
Jeez, okay.
So you're like, if you've got a crew of 10 people, then and like everybody's getting a 10% tip, then you're talking like 2 grand per person for 3 days worth of work, and you're getting paid your hourly rate or
Okay.
whatever. And you're like living in the Bahamas on a mega yacht, and like any days you have days off, you get access to the whole boat. Right. So it's just like it's fascinating. It's like a window into how things happen, which is like my favorite thing to learn about. And like just like cruise quarters and you know family meal is like the chef has to cook for not only the guests but also like the entire crew, and it's very interesting seeing how these people live, and they're called yachties, and it's like a whole industry, but it's like a great way to travel and see the world. So
Love it. Like I had sorry, I met somebody a few years ago and was chatting to her about, and she was a chef. She did this for ages, and she was like, it's
mhm.
great. She was like, it's a great way to earn a lot of money quickly, but like
Yep.
it's kind of
Brutal.
brutal. It's
Yeah.
like really hard work. You're on call all the time. She was like, there's a lot of like people using coke and drugs and things like that. There was like all the staff were kind of like shagging each other. It was just kind of a bacchanal, but like
Yeah.
it was an interesting experience. But like she had only done it a handful of years, and she was like, I'm already ready to kind of move
Yeah.
on from this, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Um,
it's like it's for a certain type of person
yes,
and like it's hard being an event planner, it's hard being like in hospitality, it's hard being a chef,
yeah,
and to then put that in the pressure cooker of like a boat,
well,
which
yeah.
like a mega yacht, I gotta be honest, like at the end of 3 days, like there's just not enough space for these people to do their jobs well.
I'll bet, I'll bet, I'll bet. Fascinating
Anyways,
though.
so that's bringing me joy.
I love
And I'm
it.
gonna watch it and you can't make fun of me.
I mean, agree to disagree on that
I saw
last
your
point.
face. I saw
Ag-
your face. And you're
Agree.
like looking it up on the internet, like, don't.
I'm like, do I want to watch this? I mean, like, I watch some stuff like that occasionally. I
Yeah.
friggin' especially what people recommend me. This one is completely out there. The one that I watched was so there was a show called Rock of Love, and it was like trying to find who was. It was basically
It
who
was a
was it?
band.
Yeah, it was somebody. It was a decent no Brett Michaels, um, and I can't remember his name. Anyway, so like he had lead singer from the band Poison, trying to find him a date, right? One of the breakout characters from that show was called Daisy, and she was really popular. I don't think she ever her and Brett got together. I don't really know, but was so popular they gave her a spin-off show. So a contestant on a reality show got her own show called Daisy of Love,
Wow.
and it was so. And like I don't know where it came off. So I was like, this is the one of the most chaotic seasons of reality TV you've ever seen. And I watched it, and it was hilarious and wonderful and kind of heartbreaking and really kind of like wild like in terms of like the behavior was fucking nuts. Like it's such of an era. Like so many of the things you're like, oh, that's assault, that's assault, that's assault. Like just in terms of like going up and like kissing her and be like to show how passionate they were. And I'm like, this is
Yep.
wild to watch now.
Yep.
It's really crazy. But very entertaining, I must say. There was nothing else I've seen like it. Um, yeah, so what's been bringing me joy, and I'm just gonna like, circle back to the start of the episode, is just playing board games again. I
Mhm.
haven't for ages. I really love it. I really love, it's just such a nice way to spend time for me. I think I've talked to you before about how much I love having an activity. I prefer to have an activity than, just talking. I feel very
Yes.
exposed and scared.
Yes.
Um, so I just love that. I love like learning new games. I love kind of like, seeing new experiences that they can kind of like deliver. There's a One I picked up kind of like I got a game for Christmas and I literally I hadn't even like popped this bruise. I hadn't like properly opened the game at all. Finally got it out and it was like how can I describe it? Basically you are dragon wranglers and you're like finding dragons and you're kind of like you've got these caves and you're kind of putting them in caves to kind of like cultivate them and build the best sort of like dragon land. And it was just great. It was just great fun and very, just as I say, reminded me how much I love the hobby. And I really want to make an effort to kind of set aside time for it because I just haven't been recently. So yeah, that's the plan. Nice to
Good.
have that reignited.
Can you send me the name of the dragon game? That would be
Yeah,
something my daughter would really like.
it's called Wormspan, but yes, I will
Or
indeed.
worm spit worm
Yeah, Worm is in
spins.
Dragonspan, so
Okay.
WYRMSPAN. I think you would like, so it's based on a game called Wingspan, which I think you would love because which is like birds, and you're trying to
Okay.
like get birds into wetlands, like grasslands and forests. What's lovely about that game is that not only do you have the cards with all the kind of like info that allows you to win the game, but it's got bird facts in them all,
Ooh.
right?
You know I love a fact.
Right? Who can't beat some bird facts? Um, so yeah. But yeah, all right, Beth, can you let everybody know where they can find us?
Yes, you can find us at bendypodcast.com.
Love it. Okay, okay, folks. In that case, we've come to the end of our show and would like to remind you, as always, to stay
Stay
bendy.
bendy.
Love it.
That
All
was
right.
good. All right.
Okay. The reviews are in. We love you, folks.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.